Shalom. First and foremost, before I begin, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rekak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the fully elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. Now, real quick, it's like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I wanted to touch on this. Basically get all the meat off the bone. We've done several lessons regarding the stranger in Leviticus, the 19th chapter, which has become for the Christians kind of like another John 3:16, where they try to use scripture to justify or try to save non-Israelites and say that we got to love them and treat them as ourselves and this and that and the third. They'll go to where it says thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, all those different scriptures that we didn't have to, go over and break down for the correct understanding so that these Christians can't use it against you if they try to, come at you. So dealing with Leviticus 19, where it talks about the stranger, they just go to that and read it, because another few precepts came to mind, as I was going over this, and it'll all make sense, once we cover it. Leviticus 19:33 says, "And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you shall not vex him, but the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." So this particular stranger, not only are we supposed to treat him as one that has right in the land, once he's here, he or she, but also we're supposed to love him as ourselves. So, this is supposed to be a neighbor. The commandment says to love thy neighbor as thyself. So you would do unto him as you would have others do unto you, right? When a Christian, which these are recent examples, they'll say, well, this is proof that, you guys you're wrong. You're not supposed to talk about vengeance against the other nations because your law says, you're supposed to love them as yourself. You're supposed to love your enemies. In the very same law, all right, in the law, statutes, commandments, I wonder why they never, and maybe it's just me, but dealing with strangers, right, which shows you that this is why you have to understand context. And you have to go into these words. That way you not get mixed up. You come to identify that there are multiple types of strangers. Now, what type of stranger is this? Is this the same stranger that you're supposed to love as yourself? Let's go to, real quick, let's go to Deuteronomy 14. It's Deuteronomy 14:21. And it says, "You shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself." All right. If the animal, if the cattle that you eating from, if it happened to die of a sickness, if it choked on something and end up dying, we're not supposed to eat it. Right? It says, "Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou mayest sell it unto an alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. Thou shalt not see thy kid in his mother's milk." So the question is, when you use Leviticus 19 and it talks about loving your neighbor as yourself, and that stranger that comes within the land, and you're to treat him as one that is born there, and you're supposed to, show him all his love. Why is this in the law? What kind of stranger is this that the Lord say, well, you don't eat any animal that dieth of itself. But if you happen to see a stranger, you can give it to him to eat, or you can sell it to him. Now, we know Paul said in his letter to the church of Rome, love worketh no ill towards his neighbor, right? We're supposed to show goodwill. Would this happen to be love? Would you be loving your neighbor if you gave your neighbor meat of an animal that died of itself when the law specifically says don't eat it because you're supposed to be holy? Because basically it's defilement. You defile yourself if you eat any animal that dies of itself. I think one of the ordinances that was passed down to the converts, the Israelite foreigners that was coming in, one of the ordinances when they had the Council of Jerusalem was to not eat anything. Let me go to it real quick. They was telling them to stay away from meat that's strangled, basically. Let me see if I can find that. Yep, this is Acts 15 and 20. It says, but that we write unto them, and this came down from the top, from the heads. Acts 15 and 19 says, wherefore my sins is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to the Most High. It's talking about Israel, all right? They're basically converting. Okay, what do you think it means to convert? It means to turn back or to return. And you can only return to something that you've already been a part of in the past. So that's how you know that these Gentiles are Israelites. It says, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols, from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. Look up that word strangled real quick. And the word is
Strong's G 4156, niktos. Niktos.
And it says, an animal choked to death. Okay. Suffocated, strangled. What is strangled, i.e. an animal deprived of life without the shedding of blood. All right. So this is an example of an animal that died of itself. So he's telling these Gentiles, don't eat anything that dies of itself. That's in our law. Why? Because you need a form of holiness. If you're going to come to serve the Lord, there has to be a form of holiness. Not that they're going to be held, to the yoke of the whole law, but you need some form of holiness because the Lord is holy. All right. So that's what these Israelite foreigners were to keep as an ordinance as they were coming in. Okay. So this is them showing love to strangers here. These Gentiles that were being converted, and they were being told, don't eat anything offered to idols. Don't commit adultery among each other. All right. Don't eat meat that die of itself. Don't eat anything with blood. Don't eat blood, which is in the law. Okay. So that's an example right there. Okay. Loving your neighbor as yourself. You being holy, so you teach your neighbor how to be holy. Okay. So if you're not if you could do this to a stranger, then what kind of stranger is this? Is this talking about a non-Israelite, a heathen? Now you look up that word for alien, which coincides with stranger. The word there is nakar, which is the other word for stranger when it's dealing with a non-Israelite. Now, sometimes it may even use that word nakar, even though its usage is applied towards the other nations, a non-Israelite. Sometimes in reference to Israelites is that word used too. Like, for example, in Jeremiah 2 and 21, where the Lord calls his people a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto him. That word strange is ban nakar, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So obviously, this is talking about a non-Israelite. That's who you don't have to consider your neighbor. That's not who you have to treat as someone as thyself, because that's not an Israelite. That's not of your brethren. Now let's get another example, because this is just one of them that came across my mind. Now, in another one of the previous lessons that I did, it was already established when you read Leviticus, the 25th chapter, that if you're gonna have a servant for hire, he must, he could be among your people, but you're not to treat him with rigor. You don't rule over him with rigor. But if you're gonna have a bondman or a bondmaid, they're gonna have to be among the heathen, somebody from a non-Israelite. All right. And the Lord said, what we're gonna do to the nations, we're gonna rule over them with a rod of iron. All right. We're gonna beat them like we're gonna beat them to shivers, like a potter's vessel. So let's go from there. Let's go to this other law. We're gonna go to Deuteronomy 23. Yep, Deuteronomy 23 and 19. And it says, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother. And we know what usury is. We're not supposed to do that among our own people. Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. But I thought we're supposed to love our neighbor. We're supposed to love a stranger as ourselves. I thought we were supposed to, treat them with love and kindness, a stranger. At least that's what these Christians are saying. These, bugged out Israelites that want to save these heathens. They say that, and they try to use that verse, Leviticus 19. I think they use another one. But there will be a contradiction, showing you the importance of understanding context and the meaning of these words. Know which stranger applies to who, just like the word Gentile. Gentile doesn't always mean it doesn't always mean a non-Israelite. So right here, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. That's not love, right? That's not you treating a fellow stranger as yourself, right? But unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy power may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land, whether thou goest to possess it. So you can lend upon usury to this stranger, but you're supposed to love him as yourself. Nah, man. Obviously, this is talking about a non-Israelite. The vocab won't go into none of this. Now, what is the word here? La Nakarya. All right, Nakarya. And that's the other stranger. Notice it doesn't use the word gar. So there it is. So I went to 2 laws, and I mentioned another law dealing with a servant, somebody that you hire as a servant. Okay. So your brother, you don't use your brother as a bondman or a bondmaid, because that's your brother. You can only hire him as a servant, and you're supposed to pay him and take care of him and all that. So there it is, man. Now on the flip side, which shows the hypocrisy of these devils, when you hold the small hats under scrutiny, you see that they don't even follow this book. Let's go to Isaiah real quick. Isaiah 26 and 10. And it says, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In a land of uprightness, he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. Now, this same standard that they try to apply to us, right? Like vocab, he went to Leviticus 19 when he was going up against Captain Desariac. You're supposed to love the stranger as yourself. You're supposed to, treat him as a neighbor, such and such. He went into these different laws dealing with the stranger. That standard that they try to impose against us, they never want to hold that for the small hat. It is very hypocritical. That's why I'm going to keep on hinging on that question. Why aren't they scrutinized for not being held to the same, regard? Why aren't they treating who they deem as strangers in the land? The Palestinians, the so-called Ethiopian Jews, actual Jake that's in Damona, Israel. Why aren't they treating them with such love? Why aren't they able to keep that law? But we have to uphold that law. You're gonna impose that on us, right? Which if we was in the land, we'd be treating fellow Israelites with love, with hospitality. We'd be treating them as ourselves. Them small hats, they don't do that. Let's deal with that real quick. You vocab, you're a hypocrite. And there's a reason why you won't ever say anything about them. You really avoid questions about these people. And it's a reason why. But let's go here real quick. Watch this with Leviticus 19 in mind. That we supposed to, hold that law in regard to non-Israelites. Well, why aren't these people that are in our land, why aren't they held to the same standard? Let's look at this real quick.
99% conviction rate. Shut up.
And this is they're showing you that they're the biggest hateful race there is. These people here. And nobody gives them, well, I ain't gonna say nobody because the world is waking up to them. But you got specific types of people, even these Christians, which they don't even respect you either. They don't like you. They're not held with the same standard, the same regard. You're not going to scrutinize them like you scrutinize us. Is this acceptable, vocab? Let's watch this.
We don't do anything illegal. You cannot take us to jail. If you are not involved, please go. Shalom, my friend. We bless you.
Get in my country.
You come to the United States, you can say whatever you want to say. That is a free world, yes?
You're not in the United States. You're in Israel.
I
You
understand.
cannot say whatever you want to say here.
Yes, you can. It's legal. It is legal to preach about Yeshua. We preach at Damascus Gate. The police said it's okay. We preach at Jaffa Gate. The police said it's okay. Please stop.
But see, they have their little communities here in America. Nobody go and bother them here in America. You know what I mean? Nobody's going around harassing them. And I mean, you've had several little incidences here and there, but I'm sure that, the news, which is controlled by these people, they're higher ups, they don't ever show the whole context of, what's going on. But people don't just randomly go after these people. They know what time it is. They're very protected. You can't even use certain words against them. But meanwhile, you go to their land, they can do this to you.
I respect you, respect me.
Doesn't have to respect you.
Huh?
Doesn't have to respect you.
That is the right thing. Are you Jewish? Do you want to honor God? That is the godly thing to do. We respect one another.
The godly thing to do is to kill you.
The godly thing is to kill me.
That's right. That's what the Torah says.
The Torah says to kill us.
The Torah says that people who worship idols such as yourself, when there is a Sanhedrin,
To kill us.
And he's basically saying that if you're a Christian, all right, you worship who the world calls Jesus, all right, you deify him as a god, you're serving an idol. Their Talmud teaches against our Lord and Savior. And I'm pretty sure that's something that vocab will continue to avoid as well. That Talmud. That's why he better not ever come to the camp, man. I mean, he really, like, at this point, he's not welcome, but if he decided to, or if he shows up on a comment board or anything, I got some questions for his ass, man. He gonna know to stay away after some point. Because, we're not answering anything he gotta say. But we will have questions for him. And if he doesn't want to answer it, he can keep it moving. But this is how a lot of them treat Christians over there.
yes,
Okay.
that's what the Torah
So
says.
we know how the Jewish people feel about Christians, yes? That you discriminate against Christians.
Christians are idol
You
worshippers.
discriminate
The
against
Torah
Christians.
See that?
says that Christianity is idol worship.
Let me
Which is in their Talmud. Vocab ain't got nothing to say about that. Now let's go here real quick. Now, that was real disrespect. That's pretty much assault. And very disrespectful. And none of the adults, stop none of those them little evil ass children, devils, from that assault. They just kept it moving like, that's natural. You see a stranger and he's a Christian, spit on him. What happened in Leviticus 19 and 33 and 34? Why isn't that being applied here? These are strangers. They're in your land. All right, who the world called Jesus, that's supposed to be the Messiah. And they're carrying a cross representing him, which, I mean, of course, they have the wrong Jesus, but they're doing this, and these small hats, which I'm pretty sure these are probably the Ashkenazis, they're spitting on them. Where's the love at? And I'm making this so that is very clear. Now you understand, all right, the context of that law, so that these Christians can't try to use it against you. And if they do, now you understand how to use it, what it mean, and also you can flip it with the question on these people not using that same, they're not applying that same law. They're not following that law, but they claim that they follow the Torah, the Torah. But they're a bunch of devils, man. Let favor be shown unto the wicked, yet will they not learn righteousness. Psalm 50. and 16. And it says, but unto the wicked, the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, saying thou hatest instruction and casteth my words behind thee. I mean, this is applying to an actual Israelite, like the priest. You know, they misused the system of the priesthood and stopped, giving a damn. Was taking payments and all kind of stuff. This originally applies to Israel, just to qualify it, but we apply this towards the devils now. Whether you're a Christian or a small hat, you don't follow this book, but you try to use it. You'll use the parts in this book that benefits you. But let's go from there. And this is one more video.
The Ethiopian Jews, young people who were born in Israel, and they feel Israelis, but still they are in many points. People.
Now these are strangers right here, right? These so-called Ethiopians, all right, which they're not the people either. Some of them might be. Because you got Judah that's among Cush. All right. I believe a lot of those rich Eritreans, I believe that a lot of them are Jake. Okay, but you got some of them Ethiopians that's getting treated like peasants, being treated inhumane in the land. So they're not applying Leviticus 19:33-34.
See them as Ethiopians.
Mehereta Baruch Ron is the deputy mayor of Tel Aviv, an Ethiopian Jew who came to Israel when she was 10 years old, escaping Ethiopia on foot before she could fly to Israel.
The Ethiopian Jews dreamed for 2,000 years to get to Jerusalem.
Baruch Ron is a success story for the Ethiopian community, from an illiterate immigrant to a city and community leader. Many of the 140,000 Ethiopian Jews living in Israel today came over in two massive airlifts in the late 80s and early 90s. The Ethiopians were welcomed with open arms, but the dream gave way to new challenges. The government set up these absorption centers throughout Israel to help Ethiopians get used to a new country. The trouble is, too often, Ethiopians say they struggle to find acceptance. Unemployment in the Ethiopian community is 13%, nearly 3 times the national average, and Ethiopians earn a third less than Israelis.
They get treated like niggas. The same treatment we get over here, them Cushites getting over there. Come on, man. They're not. Come on, man. They're not keeping the same energy. Why aren't they allowed? Why aren't they held under the same scrutiny? Vocab. And any you dumb Christian, even if you're a Jake, if you believe in that, like the one dude from whatever off Israelite group that he's a part of, going into these same verses, about the stranger. Talk about this. Why aren't they implementing this in the Holy Land?
According to Tebeka, an Ethiopian advocacy group, less than 2% of Israelis are Ethiopians, but Ethiopians make up nearly 20% of the youth prison populations. Ethiopians have been protesting discrimination for years, especially in 2013 after the government admitted to coaxing Ethiopian women into taking birth control before moving to Israel. But this time, the protests made a difference. The Prime Minister promised to end racism in Israel, while the Chief of Police is working to end police discrimination.
He admitted there is a problem. There is police violence against the Ethiopian community. And that...
Hold up, there's footage of them beating on one. Yep.
Now they have the country's attention following a viral video showing 2 Israeli police officers beating an Ethiopian Israeli soldier in uniform. Both officers were fired. But this video was a tipping point, a symptom of a much bigger problem. Ethiopians say they're treated like second-class citizens.
those young people who were born in Israel and they feel Israelis, but still they are in many points. People see them as Ethiopians.
So even if you're born there, they're not giving you the treatment that, you know, they give their other fellow citizens. So there you go, man. The double standard, the hypocrisy is real. All right. We don't want to hear you trying to go into our law to try to scrutinize us. Do that with these small hats that's still claiming to be the people of the book. So with that, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. To the next one, Shalom.